Hello, everybody, and welcome into the 65th edition of Texas Longhorns Live. I'm your host, Matthew Miller. As always, joined by my co-host, Gerald Goodrich, here on Monday night. The last weekday show before we get to the college football season. So super exciting times. Next week, we'll be previewing the Ohio State game the week of the game this time, not 2-3 months in advance like last time. So please hit that like button, please subscribe down below, and we are going to etch our predictions in stone for today. And we might as well start out with this: hot takes for the season. We're each going to give a couple hot takes, see what if we can get a couple of these right. Gerald, I'll let you start. What is your first hot take for the season?
My first hot take, and this it might be spicy. I think the Texas Longhorns win the Joe Moore Award for the top offensive line in the country. I think that there is enough talent on this unit that if Kyle Flood has developed this group to the level that we think they do, right? Texas, one of the big storylines in the offseason is that Texas has lost a bunch. They lost 4 of their 5 starters from a year ago. A lot of these guys had rotational play last year, so really it's like 3.5 starters, but whatever, right? I think the level of talent Texas brings in, I think the level of talent that Texas has, and Kyle Flood's track record as a developer and as someone who can get it done. He's got multiple Joe Moore awards in his back pocket. So ultimately, I think that this team has the goods to win the Joe Moore Award this year.
I actually don't think that's like a crazy hot take, because I think Trevor Goosby has a chance to be drafted just as highly as like Kelvin Banks, honestly. I think he's got that type of talent. And I think the interior of the offensive line is going to be really good in the run game. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not a stretch. And I think there's only like 2 to 3 offensive lines I look at and like, damn, they're kind of leading right now. Because that's how these awards work. Like, you have to have a lot of offseason hype going in. Because let's be honest here, I don't think Texas, we were in the final 3 last year. I don't think we were a top 3 offensive line last year, but we made the final 3.
And if Texas has a repeat, like 1,000-yard rusher and Arch looks good, like those are the things that people are going to look for when they're looking for the offensive line. So like there's going to be enough shine on Texas's performance this year that there'll be eyes enough that I think this could happen. I'm not a hot takes guy, so if my takes aren't spicy enough, I apologize. Like spicy food, not a spicy takes guy.
It's still pretty hot. I mean, no one is predicting that. I don't even know if they have odds for the season for that type of stuff, but they probably wouldn't be that high. I think Miami's probably number 1 right now. They have a lot of guys returning and with their offensive line coach and everything. So I'm going to kind of go off of that. I think Texas, does it not once, not twice, but 3 times now. It'll be the 3rd time in a row Texas has the Outland Trophy Award come back to Austin, Texas. Whether that be someone like a Colin Simmons, a Trevor Goosby, or someone like that, I think someone's going to win that in the interior or on this defensive line or the offensive line. I think they have a really good shot at it. I was actually kind of surprised Kelvin Banks won it last year. That puts us at 2. Tavondre Sweat was the first. Kelvin Banks was the second. And I think there's some guys on this team that could be the third. If it's not the guys I just mentioned, I could see an Alex January popping off, or I could see a Rod Watson really popping off on this team. Maybe DJ Campbell. DJ Campbell finally gets to the front of the line and does what he's supposed to do. He has the talent to do that. So I think there's enough talent on this team where you could get another Outland Trophy back to Austin.
Yeah, I mean, I think DJ Campbell is probably like the dark horse for it. He's a guy, we've said it multiple times. I've said it multiple different ways. Like, if DJ Campbell lives up to the billing, lives up to what we all know he has or should have or believe he had in the tank, like DJ Campbell has the goods to be one of the best offensive linemen in the country, period. Like, he has the goods to be one of the first linemen off the board come NFL draft time, like I guess March, right? So like if this line is as good as we think they can be and as good as they should be with the level of talent they have, the level of development from Kyle Flood, I don't think that's too far-fetched. I mean, I think, again, DJ Campbell, we saw Trevor Goosby. Folks are really high on Trevor Goosby, man. He is a guy who I think a lot of folks have eyes on. I think he's a guy who, came in last year, didn't really see a demonstrable difference between his play and Kelvin Banks' play last year, who, again, Kelvin Banks hasn't given up a single pressure in the NFL preseason thus far. Guy's pretty stinking good.
No, that's very true. I'm going to let you go and get, if you have another one, let's hear it.
So my second hot take, I guess maybe not a hot take, but Texas has not had 1,000-yard, 10-touchdown wide receivers since, I believe, Quan Cosby in 2008. And I think that streak ends this year. I don't know who it's going to be. It could be your man, Jack Endries. It could be one of the thousands of wide receivers that Texas has. But I think they're going to push the ball down the field. I think they're going to stretch it. I think we're going to see a lot more big chunk touchdowns. And generally, when you see big chunk touchdowns and an offense that's expected to score a lot of points, those two things are going to happen. So I think Texas, for the first time in 17 years, has a receiver that hits 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't hate that prediction at all. I think Ryan Wingo, I talked about it last week. At 9 was Matthew Golden last year. I think Ryan Wingo is going to have 10 or 11 touchdowns this year. I really believe that. Now, 1,000 yards, that's going to be the hardest part because there's so many mouths to feed on this offense, very deep. So we'll see what happens. But Sark also doesn't like to rotate. So we'll have to see about that. Maybe if the rotation isn't deep, then we'll see that guy. I'm going to go with this. I've been saying it for the past 3-4 months now almost. I think Jack Endries is going to have the best season in the history of Texas football at the tight end position. I think you're going to see something in the regular season of 50 to 55 catches, 600 to 700 yards, and 6 to 7 plus touchdowns. That's what I think he's going to do. I think he's also going to be a very good blocker, more of the Gunnar Helm type blocking when it comes to that than Jatavian Sanders, who is not a good blocker at all. So I think Jack Endries is in line for a really, really big season.
Yeah, and I think, tight ends in this offense can eat if they're blockers, right? And I think Jack Endries is a blocker, and so I think he's going to eat. And again, I think there is an opportunity for Texas to become like tight end U, right? Because they had Jatavian Sanders, who, again, I think Jatavian Sanders maybe wanted to block, and then you look at his like combine numbers, you're like, could he like even do the thing? But Gunnar Helm made a name for himself as a guy. It's why he got playing time, and it turned into being, the team leader in receptions a year ago. So I think, the Jack Endries take is not a hot take today, but when you first made the claim months ago, it was very spicy. And I really appreciate you sticking to your guns on that, because that is a lot of people would have backed off of it.
Yeah, I mean, I was, on that train early, and then you see on Texas putting out, he's like insane in practice, a lot better than the coaches thought he was going to be. And then other guys, Orange Bloods and them, have been putting out other stuff of he's really good. He has the chance to win the Mackey Award. And I think odds-wise, they do have an odds for that. I think he's number 2 or 3. I think he's behind Max Flair and Eli Stowers. So I was on it early. I'm glad I have a co-host now to say, hey, no, he was on this earlier than most people. You can tell him I was here first. But yeah, I just really believe he's going to have a really big season because the Sark offense is built for a tight end to have a really good season. And you see all this eye candy and stuff like that. And then you see, I still remember the Alabama game, Jatavian Sanders wide open by 20 yards because guess what? All the eye candy in front, everyone got lost. He's open and he gets to run freely. And guess what? Jack Endries is fast enough. That could be a touchdown now. Whereas Jatavian Sanders, no offense, really doesn't have the high end speed. It would turn into a big game, but not a touchdown.
Yeah. And again, I think there is, when you have a young quarterback, I think that's the other thing that's playing into this, like having a young quarterback who, Arch is going to push the ball down the field, but I also think he's smart enough. He's probably heard it from both of his uncles and his grandfather 1,001 times. You're not going to go broke making a profit. So take the check down, take the check. So I think if the check down is there, I think your boy Endries is going to feast. I want to back up to my claim though, for the all you got to do to hit 1,000 yards, if you play 14 games, is hit 71 yards a game, right? 70 yards a game in 14 games, right? Because if Texas makes it to the playoffs, they're going to play 13. If Texas plays for a SEC championship, they'll probably play 14, right? So like, all you got to do is hit 70 yards. So I want to throw that out there. Maybe not as spicy as I once thought.
No, it's not that crazy. I think it's definitely possible. And like they have 3 games after Ohio State where, a wide receiver can feast versus those teams. And they could have 100 yards receiving at halftime if they break a tackle and go for like a 60, 70-yard play. So it's definitely possible. Do you have another hot take, Gerald?
I've got one more. Colin Simmons will not lead the team in tackles for loss. I don't think Colin Simmons leads the team for tackles. And that's not any shot at Colin Simmons. It's actually praising Colin Simmons. I think Colin Simmons is going to be such a gravitational force on this defense that it's going to open up things for everybody else. I think offenses are going to look for Colin Simmons. They're going to slide coverage to Colin Simmons. They're going to leave an extra blocker in to take care of Colin Simmons, which means that a guy like Ethan Burke or Colton Vasek on the other side, or Anthony Hill coming off the edge, or Leon Galefau, or whoever's playing whoever ends up in that nickel spot, right? One of those guys I think is going to be able to have the advantage, right? I talk about it all the time. Playing football is just a numbers game. And when Colin Simmons is going to be this gravitational force, he's going to occupy multiple guys. They're going to have multiple resources blocking him. It's going to open things up for everybody else. So again, this is actually praising Colin Simmons. I think Colin Simmons is going to be such a gravitational force on that defense that somebody else is going to feast because teams are having to pay so much attention to him.
Victor, I will answer that question, or we'll answer that question right after I give my last hot take. So I said last week, and I'm sticking to it, and I looked at, the people on the team. I've looked at past years. I think Texas is going to have 5 guys with 5+ sacks. I really believe that. I think that's going to happen. I think you're going to have someone, Colin Simmons, Anthony, or I think guaranteed to do that. That's 2 guys. So then you're looking for someone like an Ethan Burke, a Colton Vossick, a Brad Spence, a Trey Moore, a Zena Umlazulu, a Lance Jackson, a Justice Terry. I just think there's so many guys that can get to that 5-sack number that you're going to get that. So I'm going with 5 guys that can get 5 or more sacks this season, which is crazy to say because, guys, we're 3 years away from Ben Davis leading the team with, I believe, 2.5 sacks, which is freaking pathetic to look back on. I think honestly, if that's the number, I think there's 8 guys that can get 2.5 sacks on this team.
Yeah, I think you have a multiple defensive tackles with 2.5 sacks at this point. Like that somebody mentioned that to me the other day. They're like, we're just like 2 years removed from Ben Davis being the team's sack leader. I'm just like, it's wild to think how quickly this thing has turned. It's insane to think how quick it turned.
Victor says, question, tougher game at Alabama 2 years ago with Saban and Milroe, or this year's Ohio State game? I'm going to say, just based off of the rosters, I think it's Alabama back then, because I don't think Texas's roster, especially on the defensive side of the ball, is as good as it is now. I think Texas is a more complete football team heading into Ohio State than we were going down to Alabama. I also think Ohio State, they're probably about equal talent-wise to that Alabama team. And I think Nick Saban is a better coach than Ryan Day.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to go Ohio State, and I think it's a situational thing because it's week 1, right? I think if Texas plays Ohio State week 3 like they did Alabama, I'd probably say it's Alabama, but ultimately, like, first game, bunch of new starters, new quarterback, like that gives me the heebie-jeebies. I think that to me is a massive thing that we have to pay attention to, right? Got a young quarterback. Thankfully, it's going to be an early game, right? Texas didn't let them shift it a day and screw the fans out of all of their hard-earned money on that. So I'm going to be an early kickoff first thing. But again, brand new starter at quarterback, multiple new offensive linemen, multiple new skill position players, just because it's so early in the season with that much turnover. Texas doesn't even know who it is yet, right? So like that, to me, I think Ohio State's tougher situationally.
No, I think that's fair. That's a really good question, Victor. I mean, they're both insanely hard places to win at. But I mean, Alabama at that point, I think they hadn't lost there since 2019 LSU, so it had been 4 or 5 years. And we also gave them the biggest loss in the history under Nick Saban at home. So that's crazy to say too. So that was the hot takes portion. Guys, we're going to drop right into where we think Texas goes this year. What is their wins? What's their losses? We're going to pull up the schedule and we're going to go through it and we're going to talk about it. So obviously the first game, we know what the first game is. There's no need to address it. We might as well just jump into it. It is Texas versus Ohio State at Ohio State. Gerald, final prediction for this game. What is it?
Man, I've been waffling on this one. This was the last one I filled in on my like pre-show prep. And I think we've seen now officially Julian Sain's been named the starter. I think we've been banking on that. I think gun to my head, I have to say Texas at this point. I think Texas is going to have the advantage, I think, at the running back spot. I think that's going to make a big difference in this game. Ohio State is not going to have either of those guys. Texas was a couple of plays away from beating last year's team that was better, right? Like it was, some weird calls and weird situations. Both, I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I've said it before. I think both of these offenses are going to take a bit. I think these are probably 2 of the best defenses in the country in week 1 facing off against new quarterbacks. So ultimately, though, again, I think it's going to be Texas. I think it's going to be a close game, probably a 1-score game, a field goal game. But I think Texas goes in and gets it done.
No, I don't disagree. That's what I'm going with too. I've said for months. I placed a bet like all the way back in April at 3.5 points for Texas. It was at 3. I placed bets there. I placed bets at 2.5. It's going to continue to go down, I fully believe it. By the time the game's run, I bet it's at 1.5, and I will continue to place bets because I am super confident in this Texas team with what they bring back coaching staff wise. To me, that's the most important thing. It's really hard for me to believe you have all this cohesion on a coaching staff that's basically brand new on the offensive side of the ball with a new offensive line coach, new offense coordinator. Yes, he was there. And then you also have a new DC to throw into the mix who was not on staff. Neither was the offensive line coach. So I think Texas wins this game. If this is later in the year, I think it's a much harder game. It's puts in more question in my head, but because it's week 1, I think that favors Texas a lot. Like the reason I picked them to beat Michigan last year. Michigan lost a lot on the coaching staff, not even really player wise, but on the coaching staff, and that's why I picked them to beat Michigan. I have Texas winning this game 23-17.
I think that's fair. Again, that's a one-score game. I don't think I think you and I are in agreement. Low scoring game, 1-score game. If you're a fan of defense, I think you're going to have a good time week 1.
I agree. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on these next 3 games. Gerald, unless you have something to say here that I just don't know about, I think Texas is going to steamroll every one of these teams that we play after Ohio State.
My only thing I want to say is I'd love to see Texas play at the Sun Bowl in a non-conference game. Sun Bowl, low-key, one of the most underrated, iconic locations in college football. Other than that, got nothing to say about these next 3. I think Texas rolls in this one.
Okay, and then no offense to those 3 teams, but those are kind of bye weeks before an actual bye week, so you kind of have a month of practice, basically, in my opinion. And then you go to Florida, and I am going to predict Texas to lose at Florida. I don't feel great about this. I felt very confident that Florida would probably beat us going into the season up until about 2-3 weeks ago when DJ Lagway started having those nagging injuries, and I hate to hear that because guess what? I like to see him play. 1, 2, he's a really good player, and that's their chance to beat us, which I'm fine. If he doesn't play and we beat him, awesome, because I think there's a real chance at that point we could go 12-0. But I think they do get us. I think going down to the swamp during that time period when they're probably relatively healthy since it's early in the season, I believe they have a bye as well going into the game. I think DJ Lagway will be able to go, and I think their defense is much improved after changing defensive coordinators. And I think their offense is going to be pretty explosive this year. They have a really good offensive line, and Jaden Ball's a really, really talented running back. I actually think he might be the best running back in the SEC. And then you have guys like Eugene Wilson and Dallas Wilson. I think they're going to beat Texas.
Yeah, this is one that I was waffling on as well during my previews. I don't have faith in DJ Lagway being healthy. That's the thing that has kept me from really, picking Florida, just because we don't know about DJ Lagway's health. And there are just some guys that struggle to stay healthy. And DJ Lagway, unfortunately, has been one of them. I want to see him play. I want to be successful. I also like it when Texas wins. And if he doesn't play, I think Texas rolls in this one. Defense travels, thankfully. So Texas is going to be a solid defensive team. Again, I think I have Texas winning this one, but I wouldn't be shocked if it went the other way.
Maybe, or hopefully not for our sake, that Arch Manning doesn't have the Peyton Manning gene where he can never beat Florida. So hopefully that didn't happen. Next up, we go into Dallas, the Cotton Bowl, when we play Oklahoma. And when we get to the SEC prediction, guys, I'm gonna be straight up honest right now. I'm pretty damn high on Oklahoma because I think it's basically impossible to have as many injuries as they did last year. But I do think we beat them. I don't think they're going to be good enough offensively. I think their offensive line is going to struggle in this game versus our defensive line. I think it's a relatively low-scoring game because guess what? They have a very good defense as well, probably one of the top 10 best in America. So I think it's a relatively low-scoring game, but I trust Texas's defense a little bit more than I trust Oklahoma's defense. And I think Arch Manning's more capable of making plays versus their defense than John Mateer is versus our defense.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to for me as well. I think when you look at a defensive battle, because OU, I'm not going to take any shots at their defense. Brent Venables knows how to coach a defense. They're a very talented unit. They're a well-coached unit. But when you have two defenses that are going to be really, really good, then you got to look at which offense is going to be able to move the ball more, which quarterback do you trust more. And I said it last week, and I'll say it again. I'm kind of a John Mateer truther yet. I need to see it against Power 5 teams before I buy the John Mateer hype. Go look at his stats from last year. His 2 worst games were against the only 2 Power 5 teams he played. He feasted on a lot of lesser opponents. Now, that's not to say he's not going to be good, nor could he be good. I'm just saying I need to see it before I believe it. So that means I'm taking Arch Manning in this one. I've seen it. I rewatched the Mississippi State game earlier today, actually, being able to just kind of getting back in the vibe of things. And so ultimately, I really think Texas wins this one again. I think they get a streak going against OU.
Victor says 24-13. I think that's definitely reasonable. I mean, that's 17-13, and then Texas pushing over a late touchdown, 24-13, definitely possible. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't think we lose either of these two games coming up between Kentucky and at Mississippi State, but one of these games is going to be a lot closer than it should be. That's how I feel. I don't think you're going to run through the SEC road schedule and come out, perfectly unscathed. And you may win them all, but it's going to be really hard. And I'm pretty high on Mississippi State this year. I think they're going to be, like, compared to what we think Mississippi State is. So I think they're going to make it a little bit closer game. I do think we beat Kentucky, but that is a really hard place to play. We've seen Georgia play there, and they've struggled there for whatever reason. We've seen LSU go there, struggle a little bit. We've seen Florida go there recently and struggle versus Kentucky. So I think that's a really hard game. And I also think Mississippi State is a hard game as well. But I'm going to group those two together, and I think we win both those games.
Yeah, I don't. My personal feelings on Jeff Lebby aside, Jeff Lebby is a really talented offensive coach, and he was able to move the ball against Texas last year with a team that's worse than the one he's going to trot out there at home, right? So I think that one definitely could get a little tight, get a little iffy for Texas in spots. I think they're going to move the ball. Again, I think Texas' defense wins out. Defense travels. Ultimately, I think Texas wins that one, but I think they're going to I think Jeff Lebby knows how to move the ball against Texas.
At home versus Vanderbilt. This is the first home game in over a month. I think we are going to beat the ever-living you-know-what out of Vanderbilt. I don't think this game's going to be close. It was honestly, the score was way closer than it should have been last year. They had a lot of fluke plays, and Vanderbilt, to me, was the team last year. They caught people by surprise because of the way they play football and because it's Vanderbilt. Well, guess what? With Diego Pavia running his mouth and everyone has a whole year of game film now, that is no longer the case. They are going to be circled now because of what their quarterback says and the way they played offense. I think Texas is going to beat them by 21-plus points.
I don't disagree. I think that's probably fair. I think Pavia has probably put a pretty big target on their back for sure. So yeah, that one, I think Texas rolls.
Bye week, and then we head to Athens, a showdown with the Bulldogs. I'm going to be honest, guys. There's one game on the schedule. If you could guarantee me a win, it's this one. I am sick, absolutely sick of hearing Georgia fans talk, and it's not about this. It's about literally everything else. I've never heard a fan base win 2 national championships in the past 5 years and cry about losing recruits to another team. I've never heard it. I don't understand it. I would, if we ever win 2 national championships in 5 years, you will never hear me cry about losing recruits. I will look at you and say, guess what? Look at these rings on my finger. I do not care about recruiting that much right now. They don't. They cry all the time about it. So I'm picking Texas to win this game. They should have beat them in the SEC championship game. That game still pisses me off. We were the better team. We let that one slip away. The first game they dominated. They kicked our ass. The second game we should have won. I'm going to take Texas to win this one in Athens.
I don't know. This one, again, it's still terrifying. Again, maybe it's PTSD, maybe it's shell shock. This just feels like one of those that is it going to be the albatross for Sark? Is it going to be the hey? It could be, and again, I'm thinking of I'm not saying Texas is going to win the national championship, but Ryan Day won a national championship. And I heard a podcast literally this morning that an Ohio State fan said, if he doesn't beat Michigan, we should fire him. I definitely am terrified of this game, especially going to Athens. They're going to be jazzed up. And if things are shaky, again, last year we saw it. Georgia was shaky every week except for the ones that they lined up against Texas, right? And so I don't know what Kirby Smart is doing. I don't know what lever he's pulling. He's going to have plenty of them to pull this year. And so this is the one loss I actually have on the schedule. I think Texas gets it back with the conference championship. But I do think that I think Georgia gets this one on the road. I don't think Texas goes through it unscathed.
No, I think that's completely fair. Next game up is Arkansas. Guys, I think by this time, Sam Pittman is fired. I think this is in haywire. I don't even know who would take over because I doubt they promote Bobby Petrino to head coach. That would kind of shock me. Maybe they do. I don't know.
I think they do. I think Petrino's an interim for sure. I think they hired him last year to put him in at the interim. That's always been my spicy take.
Okay, well, that would be crazy because that's the best photo ever taken with him in a neck brace at the
Road rash on the just
Yes.
awful.
Yeah, so I think Texas beats the you know what out of Arkansas. I don't think they're a very good team. And again, you're playing them late when I think they basically quit because I think that's what you're going to get. It's kind of hard for me to believe they turn into, a decent team, which they were last year. You have teams fall off like in the middle of the pack in the SEC. You have teams that either rise or fall back down. I think it's a team that falls back down to the lower tier this year in the SEC.
Got it. Okay. I think that's again, Arkansas, I love to hate you. Hopefully, the problem is I like Sam Pittman. Sam Pittman is a very likable dude.
Yeah,
he's a very, very likable dude. I don't want him to be unsuccessful, but I think Texas beats the brakes off them, probably because Sam Pittman's not there anymore.
For the first time in over a decade, Texas A&M is coming to Austin. And I'm a lot higher on this Texas A&M team than most are right now as well. When we get into the SEC predictions, I'll show you how high I am. Texas fans probably aren't going to be too happy with how high I am, but I do think Texas wins this game. I think Texas is the better football team. I think, honestly, it's just the birthright of Texas at this point. When you look at the history of the rivalry to beat A&M, until they beat us, I'm not going to say they're going to beat it. Until they do it on the field, I'm not going to predict that they're going to do it.
I think the way that Texas A&M is going to have to win games this year plays into Texas's hands, right? I think A&M has a ton of talent. They have, I will say, one of the best running back tandems in the country, right? There's no two ways around it. Moss and Ruben Owens is one of the best 1-2s in the country. And that takes a lot of pressure off of Marcel Reed to be the playmaker. But I think the way that they are going to have to win games, it's going to be very much a Colin Klein, Kansas State type of thing where you have a quarterback running a lot. You have a lot of zone read. You have a lot of option plays. You have a lot of zone running. And I think Texas's defense is built to play that type of defense. I think Pete Kwiatkowski is going to have a very good time game planning for that game. Anything can happen in this rivalry game. I was there for all sorts of weird things that happen in this rivalry. But ultimately, I think when it comes down to both X's and O's and Jimmy's and Joe's, I think the way that Pete Kwiatkowski schemes and I think the talent that Texas has on the defensive side plays really well. I think A&M is going to have one of the top rushing attacks in the country this year. I think their offense is going to look a lot better than people give them credit for. Again, I think Marcel Reed is going to thrive in a fully Colin Klein offense for him. But I think Texas has the horses to get it done.
Yeah, I agree. I think their offense is going to be a lot better because I think their offensive line's better. Marcel Reed, another year in the system. They have Le'Veon Moss, who wasn't there last year when we played him. And they have better wide receivers like Kevin Concepcion coming over from NC State is way better than anyone they had last year at the wide receiver position. So I do think A&M is definitely going to be better offensively. I think they take a slight step back on defense, though.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they lost a ton of talent, so there's no two ways that they don't.
Yeah, this is a crazy stat. In the past 8 to 9 years, Georgia is 47-1 at home. Hey, Alabama, I believe, had like a 30-game win streak, and we went in there and won as well. So I think we're able to do that. We haven't lost a road game in 2 years with Steve Sarkisian the last 2 years, which is crazy to say. So that streak could end week 1, too, versus Ohio State. But, I mean, if we go Ohio State, Florida, and Georgia and win those games on the road, we may not lose another road game for a while, guys, because that's 3 of the top 10 environments in college football. I don't think you're going to have that again on next year's schedule.
Yeah, it'll be tough to see. It'll be tough to see that happening for sure.
We're going to take a quick break and let you hear from Mark Rogers. But after that, we are going to talk about the SEC predictions that we have. Where do we think Texas finishes? And we'll also end the show with our college football playoff predictions as well.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the voice of college football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the voice of college football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
There we go. If you have any interest in that, you know where to find it now. So let's go to the SEC rankings, guys, where we think teams will finish. We'll, speed run through the bottom of the SEC. Let's start with this. SEC rankings 10 through 16. We'll start with your number 16 team in the SEC, Gerald.
Yeah, I've got Auburn down there. I think they're not going to be very good. I just don't think they're going to be very good. I'm going to go back on that. I lied. I think Mississippi State. I'm going to say it now. Mississippi State, I think, is probably going to be 16. I think Mississippi State, like I said, I said my one nice thing about Jeff Lebby for this, this year. He's a good football coach. I just think the talent's not there. They can move the ball. They're going to move the ball. But I also think if they're going to win any game, it's going to be a basketball game. And I think most teams in the SEC can score with them.
So, guys, Mark has this thing every year where he talks about it, +3, -3. He's gone back like the last 10 years, and this has been tried and true. And basically on average in every season, guys, 4 to 6 teams per conference either move up 3 wins or they lose 3 more games than they did the year before. That's on average. Last year, 29 out of the 70 Power 4 conference teams did that. 29 out of 70. That's a lot. So my rankings are going to look weird because I factor that in when I do this. So Arkansas for me is going to be last. I have them at 2-10 on the season, and I have them at 0-8. Or sorry, I have them at 3-9 and 1-7 in the SEC. I did change it at the last second. I gave them 1 SEC win, so they are my bottom team. They are number 16. Number 15, I'll do this quickly. I have Vandy at 3-9 and 1-7 in the SEC. I just think what they did last year, guys, I think teams are going to be prepared. Like we talked about for the Texas game, when you run your mouth that much, you kind of put a bullet on your back, and no offense, they don't have the talent to do that. So that's why I have them at number 15 in the SEC. What about you, Gerald?
I think I have Kentucky at 15. I think I think Stoops is not long for the world. I think he's probably he wore out his welcome and kind of burns any of the goodwill he had with that whole trying to leave kind of situation. So I think that's going to probably and it factors in. I think he might get terminated early rather than later. Folks are trying to accelerate the coaching carousel process, and there are all sorts of names already floating out there. So I have Kentucky there, and then I have Vandy right above them at 14. So I think that and it's 10 through 16, I think it's pretty interchangeable, but I have Vanderbilt and Kentucky at 14 and 15.
Yeah, so all we did here is flip. I have Kentucky at 14. I am at 2-6 in the SEC. There's a little bit more talent than they had last year. I actually like the backup quarterback they put in last year versus us. Yeah, I actually thought he was pretty good. But they didn't go with him for whatever reason. They went with Zach Calzada. I think their offensive line is going to be a little bit better than it was last year. I think the defensive line will probably be a little bit worse, though. But they are my number 14 team. Number 13, I have Mississippi State. But I will say this. I have them at 6-6. I actually think they're going to beat Arizona State. They should have beat Arizona State last year if you watched that game. And that was in Arizona. This year, you're going to hear those cowbells in the background. I think that's going to help a little bit. And I think they're going to beat Arizona State. So I'm actually pretty high on them. I have them at 6-6, which is a good season for Mississippi State, and number 13 in the SEC.
Yeah, I've got Arkansas there. I think Arkansas, you had them at the bottom. I think Arkansas, I love. I think their coach is one of the good guys in the college football coaching industry in a land that there are a few of them. But I just don't think they've got the talent. I don't think they've got. They actually got a really good quarterback, but I don't know who is going to be around him to be able to support him in that. So I think they're right there. And then above them, I have Auburn. Again, I had Auburn. I pivoted at the start of this, but I think Auburn, and this may be also my anti-Hugh Freeze bias. I don't think Hugh Freeze, he's the opposite of a Sam Pittman. I think Hugh Freeze is one of the not great people in the game. So I've got them right there.
This is going to be kind of shocking. I have Ole Miss at 12 in the SEC. I think the talent drop-off that this team had is substantial. They don't recruit very well out of high school, and the portal this year wasn't as good as in years past. They didn't bring anyone close to a Walter Nolan or Princely. I can't even say the name. Umanamale. I don't even know. Yeah, thank you, because I knew I didn't hit that. But those two guys were top, I think, 100 picks in the NFL draft. I know Walter Nolan was. They didn't bring anyone near that on defense this year. And I actually like Austin Simmons, but his wide receivers, his offensive line are nowhere near as good as Jackson Dart's were. And Jackson Dart looks to be pretty damn good in the NFL right now. So I'm just low on this team. I'm not a big Lane Kiffin believer. I haven't been. I said that last year. I don't believe in him because of him, honestly. I think he's a lot of flash. So I have them at number 12. Could they go up? Yeah, I honestly think 12 through like 6 guys is pretty hard to predict in the SEC. This is kind of where it tears up for me. So I have Ole Miss at 12.
I think that's fair. And I have Ole Miss a little bit higher because I'm not as much of a Lane Kiffin skeptic. And I think that they've got, I just think they'll be okay. I think Lane finds a way to be annoying, and he likes to be just a thorn in people's side. So I think they've got an opportunity to be okay, but I don't think they're going to be great, but I think they're going to be okay.
Next up, you have? Oh no, you're good. Are you on 11?
I'm on 11.
Okay,
I'm on 11. And I've got Missouri here at 11. I think this is another team that's got some talent, but I just I don't think they're able to put it all. I think they might be a year away from being a really good team. They've done a really good job recruiting. I just think they're still a year away from getting some of those talented guys. They had some big recruiting wins again the last couple of cycles, but I really do think they're about a year away from those guys being. I think they're probably one of the top half teams next year, but I think in 2025 they're going to be at a 7-5 ish. Potentially even an 8-4. I think all 4 of those losses may be SEC losses. I think they're probably in that situation, but ultimately I think Missouri probably sits there at 11.
I think that's fair. I don't have them much higher. I have Tennessee here. Okay. Nico apparently is bowling out at UCLA. That's all the reports that people have gone to practice. And I think there's going to be a step back there. And they kind of remind me right now of last year's Oklahoma. There's already multiple guys hurt at the wide receiver position. And when you downgrade at quarterback and you're having all these injuries at wide receiver and your offensive line isn't that good, and your defense, by the way, lost a lot of defensive line men to the NFL. I just think they take a step back this year. Listen, a 7-5 year isn't good for Tennessee, obviously, but they're not a bad football team. They're still going to be a competitive, good football team. Actually, when I go game by game, so I have them beating, I think, Georgia week 3, but I still a 7-5 team because that happens, guys. You see bad teams beat good teams all the time in college football. There's a lot of parity. So I have Tennessee at 7-5 and number 11 in the SEC. I'll jump up to my number 10. This is a team I've been just saying they're going to fall off a cliff, and I think it's South Carolina. I don't think they're going to be that good. They have 2 very good football players in Dylan Stewart and Lenore Sellers. Who else do they have? If you say Nick Harbor, show me the stats, because the guy's a great track star, but he has like 300 yards receiving in 2 years or 400 yards receiving. It's not very good. So unless he just completely pops off and becomes like Julio Jones, is who his comp is coming out of high school, then guess what? I don't think they're going to be very good. And this is what made them so good. They had Kennard off the edge last year. I believe he won the Nagurski for best defensive end. He's no longer on the team. He was actually better than Dylan Stewart statistically. Guess what teams can do now? Dylan Stewart, you're getting double and triple team because you don't have your running mate anymore. So I think they fall off a cliff. I have them at number 10 in the SEC.
And I think that's fair. And I think that's honestly kind of where I have them at as well. I think I have them in Tennessee flipped from your order. So I think South Carolina, I love Lenore Sellers. This feels like there's that meme of like a Lamborghini parked in a trailer. Like, I feel like that's Lenore Sellers on this team in a lot of ways. He's one of the most electrifying talents. He is one of my blue shell kind of players that I call him, a guy who can change a game in an instant. Like you saw him against A&M last year, just blow up in a couple of spots, and then he got hurt and things went sideways. So, but again, I think you're right. There's not enough. They lost. I think Rocket Sanders is gone as well, right? I think he also, and that was a big part of why Lenore Sellers was so effective in the zone read, because if you don't put somebody on Rocket Sanders is gone. So that's an opportunity there. So I think that's fair that they're not going to be as good. Again, I think they've got a good coach. They've got a good football coach. So he could coach them up. He's got the ability to do that. But ultimately, I don't think they're going to be as good this year. So I already spoiled the next team up for me, Tennessee right above them. When you lose your quarterback in spring, I don't know what else to tell you, right? There's not all of the good quarterbacks that were in the portal were gone. There's not, and the quarterback is the most important position in football. I think there's enough talent on that team to float them a little bit, but if they have Nico, I think they're probably one of the top tier teams in the conference, but they don't. And so I think that just takes them down a tier for me.
So we'll jump to number 9 now. So I have Missouri at number 9. I think the schedule's just too easy, honestly. Like if you told me my 12 team is Ole Miss, they could be up here and Mizzou could fall all the way down to 12. But the schedule's just really easy, and I do like Bo Prabula and I believe his name's Amon Hardy, who we played last year, and he was a good running back. I think he rushed for like 70 or 80 yards versus might have been 100 actually. He might have been the only guy as an individual to get 100 yards rushing. I think he's going to do really well at Missouri. Their defense is pretty good, and with the soft schedule, I think they're able to get. I have them at 8-4 and 4-4 in the SEC, is in the 9th team in the SEC.
Yeah, I think I have them lower. I just there's something about I just don't like the vibes. I don't know what. There's not really great analysis. I just don't like the vibes from it. I'm not hearing a ton of buzz from them, and maybe that's a good thing. I don't know, but I'm just not loving what's going on there. Again, my next team up, I've got Oklahoma here. I don't, again, I'm a John Mateer truther. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I need to see it from John Mateer before I buy the hype. Against Power 5 teams last year, John Mateer was not very good. And shocker, it's going to be, they're going to have to play a full Power 5 schedule this year. They're going to have 8 of those teams on their schedule. So I need to see it before I buy the hype. Now, their defense is going to be very, very good. They've got a really good running back, but ultimately, it's a quarterback league. It's a quarterback game ultimately. And I think it's hard to win if your quarterback is a wagon and not a driver for your team. So I have OU right here.
Number 8 for me, I have Auburn here. This is the team with the highest ceiling and the lowest floor in the whole conference. I could see this team be 9-3. I could see this team be 3-9. I really could, because I have no idea what the quarterback is going to be. Guess what, though? I love the wide receivers. I think they have the best duo in college football with Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton. Like, I love Eric Singleton. I wish Texas would have ponied up the money. I see why we didn't, because I think he got like $1 million, but he's a really, really good football player. Their offensive line is going to be really good. They're going to have to fill in someone for Jarquez Hunter, who they lost. And I do think the defense, it was solid last year, and I expect it to be solid again this year. So I think Jackson Arnold is better quarterback than Peyton Thorne. I don't think that takes much. And in a Hugh Freeze offense, I think they're able to get it to the playmakers and make enough plays. So I have them at number 8 in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I see the floor. You're seeing the ceiling from them. I think they could be very. I don't think Jackson Arnold was the problem last year at Oklahoma. So if Jackson Arnold is who we thought he was 2 years ago, I could see Auburn being this high for sure. I think it's completely fair. So we're at what, number 7, right?
I did 8. Have you done your 8 team yet?
I think I just did my 8. Let's go. We'll just keep it moving. So I had Oklahoma. I've got Florida next. Florida is my next up. We'll just go ahead and throw it out there. Florida. Again, this is all, there's a big asterisk on this, right? If DJ Lagway is healthy, I think they're this good, right? I think they're right on the cusp of that top tier of the conference. I think they've got, when Billy Napier took the job, he said this is going to be a multi-year rebuild. It is, like he set expectations. The bar was very, very low, and he hasn't done quite a good enough job of getting to that low bar, I think, in some ways. And last year, I think that hinged on the fact that DJ Lagway, who is a guy who is good enough to win games on his own, was injured, was banged up. If DJ Lagway is healthy, I think Florida has an opportunity to have a very high ceiling. DJ Lagway is the ceiling setter for this team. So again, asterisk here. I think DJ Lagway, if he's healthy, I have them here.
David Keith Williams, Nick Harbor is 6'5", 235, and he goes into his junior year. He literally runs a 10.1. Yeah, he's a freak. That's my issue, is why haven't you produced yet? And that's the thing too. Is it him? Is it the offensive coordinator not able to get him the ball in certain ways? I don't know, but I'm just not. I've seen 2 years, and I've seen literally basically nothing from him. So I just can't predict that he's going to pop off in his junior year. Even if he pops off, a wide receiver's worth maybe a win. So I'm not that high on South Carolina. I think they overachieved last year, and I was high on South Carolina last year. Actually, compared to most people, I had South Carolina 7-5 last year. They went 9-3. It would have been hard to find someone in the offseason to predict South Carolina to have 7 wins, let alone 9 wins. So I just think they take a step back this year. So back to the rankings, we are on number 7. I have Florida as well. So Florida, to me, another team like Auburn, really high floor, really low ceiling, and it comes down to DJ Lagway's health. If you could guarantee me right now DJ Lagway plays 10 games, 10, I'm not even asking for 12, 10 games, I think Florida's in the top 5 in the SEC. You can't do that. So I'm going to put Florida at 7. I think it's a perfect happy medium. I have them at 8-4, 4-4 in the SEC. They're going to beat some people they shouldn't. That's why I have them beating us. They could beat, Georgia at the world's biggest cocktail party. They probably should have beat them last year. DJ Lagway, guess what? Didn't get hurt. That is the biggest thing with me. They have everything else. The defense is pretty good. The offensive line's really good. The wide receivers are good. The running backs are good. It's literally DJ Lagway's health for me that is holding me back for saying, you know what? I'm putting Florida in the SEC championship game or, top 3, top 4 in the SEC.
Again, you and I agreement there, right? There's a big asterisk with DJ Lagway's name on it. I think Florida, I think Billy Napier needs to wrap DJ Lagway in bubble wrap, and because his job is tied directly to DJ Lagway's ability to stay healthy.
Number 6, I have Oklahoma. So I think you're going to eat, let's be honest, that offense was hot, last year. I think it was ranked out of 134, 133 Division I teams. They were like 121 or 122. They were one of the 15 worst offenses in the whole country. So I think if they can be the 70th best offense, which I think they can be, and still, have a top 15 defense, this team can win 9 games. That's what I have. I have them at 9-3. I have them beating Michigan week 2 because of, again, when that happens, Bryce Underwood in his second game, first road start, that's going to be really hard for Michigan to win that football game. So I think that gives them a bump. And that's the thing too. I have Michigan 9-3 in the Big Ten. So I think that, those two teams going head to head, that's going to be a really good week 2 game. So I have Oklahoma at number 6 in the SEC.
I need them riding high coming into Dallas. I need them riding high for Texas to knock them off. I've got Ole Miss here. I like Lane. I don't know why I'm buying the Lane hype. I don't know why. It's just he is the ultimate troll. And I think when we don't expect Lane to be anything is when Lane generally tends to surprise people. He's this, I don't know what there is about him, but it's just like when he has the teams that should be these elite teams, these playoff teams, he seems to underachieve. But when he's a little bit behind the 8 ball, he tends to be a pain in somebody's keister. So I think that for that reason alone, that's why I have them here at 6.
No, that's perfectly fair. So that's the team we disagree on. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on it. Everything else we're pretty close on. It's Ole Miss. That's what's dividing the channel right now. We got to figure out where that's going to land.
Lane Kiffin, once again, a wedge issue.
Yeah. Number 5, I have A&M. I'm super high on A&M, and it's going to be for the dumbest reason possible. Guys, have we heard any hype from A&M this offseason compared to past off seasons? No, we haven't. Guess what that means? I know how life works. I know it's when someone is touted, oh, they're the best, they always underachieve. And then all of a sudden you stop talking and holy crap, it actually turned out to be true this year. I think A&M has the talent with the schedule to do what I think they're going to do. I think they're going to go 10-2. I think their only losses are going to be to LSU and to Texas with that schedule. I think they get Notre Dame at the right time. I'm super low on Notre Dame. The 2 teams I'm lowest nationally on are Notre Dame and Oregon, because guess what? Those 2 teams haven't named their quarterback yet. Why haven't you named your quarterback yet? That's not a good thing, especially with, CJ Carr coming in, all-world freshman, not named the starter, probably actually not going to win the job. So I think they're going to beat Notre Dame on the road. I really believe that. So I think they're going to end up 10-2, and I have them number 5 in the SEC.
I think even if they don't beat Notre Dame, I think they're still probably the 5th best team in the SEC. And that's also where I have them as well. And again, it hurts me to say good things about Texas A&M, right? This is, I was up late last night, wrestling with myself over this. So I wanted to put them at 16, just everything in me is put those suckers at 16. But as much as it pays me to say it, Mike Elko is a football coaching son of a gun. He is a football coach. There's no other way to say it, right? He is a football coach, a defensive-minded guy. You pair a defensive-minded coach and a team that's able to run the ball really well, and you've got a recipe for success, right? Because A&M is going to run the ball really, really well. I've said it already. They've got one of the best running back tandems in the country. I think Marcel Reed is going to thrive in that Colin Klein offense with those 2 running backs. This is going to be a very annoying team for a lot of teams to play, because it's going to be like an old Kansas State team. I think they're going to play really good defense. I think they're going to run the ball. They're going to set the pace. They're not going to make any dumb mistakes. And I think they're going to be a decent football team. So I again, as much as it pains me to say it, I'm saying this with that throw up taste in the back of my throat. I think A&M is going to be an okay football team. Now, if they fall behind in any game for any reason, I think the wheels fall off very quickly because of how they're built. But ultimately, I think they're able to control a lot of games because of defense, because of running the ball, and because what Marcel Reed does best is what Colin Klein is able to call really well.
No, I think that's fair. So I'm going to go with LSU at number 4. I think they're a solid football team. The Garrett Nussmeier patella tendonitis thing does worry me because that's serious. Like if that thing rips, I don't know where. I mean, that thing could fall out very quickly, guys. Especially week 1 playing Clemson with the whole new offensive line. That's not a good recipe with that type of injury. So I had them at number 4. I still think they're going to be a solid football team. And let me tell you, if they don't win at least 9 games this year, I think Brian Kelly's fired. I just don't see how they keep him at this point. But I do have LSU at number 4 in the SEC.
I think a decent buyout is what keeps Brian Kelly there maybe for another year. He's got a pretty big number attached to his name. So I've actually got LSU here at well. I think, I'm an anti-Brian Kelly guy, and my personal biases play a lot. I just don't like Brian Kelly. I think he's not a great person. But I also think I've said it on this channel multiple times, the LSU staff has a tendency to outthink themselves. They sometimes like, hey, we're running the ball really well. Let's chunk it 16 times and a half. Hey, what do we do with Harold Perkins, one of the most talented players? Let's put him in a box. Like they outthink themselves. They think themselves out of a lot of winning situations. And ultimately, I think that's going to happen again this year. They have the ability to win purely on talent. If you throw 11 guys out there and just let them play backyard ball, I think LSU probably wins a lot of really good football games. But ultimately, I think this LSU coaching staff just hasn't figured out how to get out of its own way. And I think, again, was Notre Dame and was Brian Kelly the Notre Dame problem, or was Notre Dame the Brian Kelly problem, right? He left Notre Dame to get into a position to compete for college football playoffs, college football championships, and he leaves, and 3 years later, they're playing for a college football championship, right? So like the proof is in the pudding right there that I think Brian Kelly is a cap on what this team can do.
No, I think that's completely fair. So number 3, Gerald, I'll let you go first. Who's your number 3 team?
I've got Georgia at number 3. I've got Georgia at number 3, even though I think Texas probably goes to Athens and loses that one if you watching throughout the show. I think Georgia, there's so much variance with them. And again, in saying they're third in the conference feels weird because they've won multiple conference championships and national championships. They haven't seemed to reload. They've got a quarterback that we're not sure what we're going to get. They lost a ton of talent on both sides of the ball. They have a lot of talent, and Brian Kelly has not forgotten how to coach football, but I think there's probably enough. They've got a really tough schedule. They've got a lot of turnover. I'll believe it when I see it, right? This is my prediction. It's my hot take show. I still could see them winning the conference and not shit. Again, I think there's tiers. I think they're in that tier of wouldn't be shocked if they win the conference.
Yeah, I agree. I think honestly, my top 5, I could even see A&M winning the SEC. Those are like my top 5 teams I could see winning.
No.
The conference. No. I'm glad you said that. No, push back all you want on that one. But number 3, I have Bama. 10-2. I do not trust Kalen DeBoer in games that don't matter. That's my biggest issue. Games that when we play Oklahoma, they should easily win that game. Lost. They should easily beat Vanderbilt. Lost. When he was at Washington, they should easily beat Washington State in a down year. Oh, and they're in a tight game where they have to run a fake reverse to get a 4th down conversion to beat a bad Washington State team. There are games that they should easily win that they're in these dogfights are losing. And I think that's what's going to happen. I have Bama losing to Missouri, and there's another game, I forget the exact game it was, that they should win, but they're not going to. I think it's Oklahoma. I think when they go to Oklahoma, I think they're going to lose to – or no, because they're at home now. They'll beat them. But I just don't trust him in those type of games. I trust him in the big games. We saw when they played LSU, and that's a big game, they destroyed him. They beat him 41-6. He does that. College football playoff game. They beat Texas when they were the underdog. But in those games that don't matter, that aren't thrown up on the as bulletin board material, he ends up losing those types of games. So that's what I think is going to happen to Bama this year and keeps him out of the SEC championship game.
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair expectation. I like the talent that they have so much. It almost feels like it's one of those, you would have to be exceptionally bad at doing your job if they lose with this team, right? There's just so much talent there. They've still got a lot of what Saban brought in. They've still added a ton of talent there. So again, much like I said with Georgia, I've got Alabama at 2 in the conference, just because I think they've got a ton of talent. I wouldn't be shocked if they won the conference. Again, putting somebody at 3 in the SEC this year means that I think they could win. Same thing with 2. I think they could very well. I have them in the SEC championship game against Texas. This is a Texas show, right? Spoiler alert, right? Alabama at 2, playing Texas for an SEC champion.
Yeah, so we're not that much different. I have Texas and Georgia playing in the SEC championship game. I think it's kind of a inverse of last year, guys. I think Texas is going to beat Georgia at home. Spoiler alert, I think Texas is going to beat Georgia in the SEC championship game this year. I think we're going to get our lick back and win both games this year versus Georgia that we play them in. Gerald, do you have Texas beating Alabama in the SEC championship game?
I do.
Okay, so Texas is your SEC champion according to us, and I believe I was at 11-1. You were at 11-1 also.
Yeah, we had different losses. You had Florida, I had Georgia, but I think we both had them at 11-1. Again, I hate putting this out there in the zeitgeist. I hate feeling good. I'm the guy who launched a football podcast during Charlie Strong, Texas football, right? So like I'm used to bad things happening to Texas football, but ultimately, like there's so many people saying things. I'm buying the arch stock. I said it earlier. I rewatched that Mississippi State game, and that first touchdown to DeAndre Moore, that was textbook stuff. That's textbook quarterbacking, right? He saw the blitz pre-snap, he called it, he stood in the pocket, he threw it, he put it right in the basket on a guy running a slot fade, and that's a big touchdown. That's also part of the reason why in my hot takes, I think Texas has a receiver that goes for 1,010 because of plays like that. I think if we get even close to what we think Arch Manning is going to be, I think the Texas offense is going to be very, very good. And I think the Texas defense is going to be, once again, in competition for a top 5 unit in the country. Like, I think that, to me, ultimately means that they're probably the best unit in the conference. We could be here in December and the wheels could fall off of the offensive line. The offensive line's a big asterisk for me still. I want to know how that unit is going to gel. But even if they lose to Ohio State week 1, I think they can still win the SEC. I think even if they lose a SEC game or even 2, right? I think a 9-3 team is possibly going to play for an SEC championship this year because there's so much variance in it. But gun to my head, 11-1. I really think Texas wins in the SEC championship game, goes to college football playoff.
I agree with you, David Keith Williams. Like, they had most of those guys last year, and they weren't that good on defense. Like, they were good, but they weren't elite. So I definitely think Texas has the best defense in the SEC. I agree. I think it might be the best unit overall in the SEC. I'm trying to think if there's any, like, electric offense that I'm missing. I don't think there is. So I think I would put Texas the best overall unit defensively in the SEC. So, Gerald, I don't know if I totally forget if I text you this. Do you have any predictions for the college football playoff?
I've got my conference champions, and I've got some loose thoughts on it. Like we already said, I've got Texas beating Bama to go. I honestly think both teams that play for the SEC are going to make it into the college football playoff. I think that's just like a shoe-in. I've got Clemson playing Georgia Tech in the ACC championship game. I think Clemson wins that one. Penn State over Ohio State for the Big Ten, and I've got this again. This is. I'm going to call this my throw-up episode, my flu game, because I've got Texas Tech winning the Big 12. And it pains me to say that. I hate everything about what Texas Tech. I just, again, it's a rivalry. I don't love them. It pains me to say good things about them, but I think they have one of the best rosters money can buy this year, and I think they're going to win the Big 12 because of it.
Yeah, so I have Texas winning the SEC. I have Clemson beating Duke in the ACC championship game. I think Duke's going to have a really good football team this year, and I think the schedule allows for that as well. They bring in Darian Mensah from Tulane, who I think is a really, really good quarterback that most people don't know about, but they will know about. And the schedule's very soft. If I'm remembering right, they only play Clemson, like is the only big dog team they really play in the ACC. They also play Georgia Tech later in the year. So honestly, that could be the game that determines who goes to the ACC championship game. And then I have Penn State beating Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. I had them losing in the regular season to Ohio State. I think Ohio State beats them at home, but loses to them in the Big Ten championship. So my top 4 are Texas, Clemson, Penn State, Ohio State, and I'll just run through the rest. I have Georgia number 5, Bama number 6, USC number 7. Guys, 17 out of the last 19 years, a top or an unranked team has been in the top 10 at the end of the year. So I think USC is that team this year. Number 8, this is going to be crazy because remember, the winner of this game plays Texas. Number 8, I have Texas A&M. Number 9, I have Oklahoma. Those two are going to play for the right to play Texas
Spicy.
in the second round of the college football playoff. I have Kansas State 10, Duke 11, and UNLV with Dan Mullen and a bunch of really good, talented players that, kind of retread here on UNLV. I think they're the group of 5 team that makes it in. So those are my 12 teams. Gerald, if you want to have like any thoughts on that, or what your thoughts are in general.
Yeah, I like the UNLV pick is spicy. I like that a lot. I've got Boise penciled in as the G5 until proven otherwise at this point. I'm not as low as Notre Dame as you are, so I would also probably have them in the field. I think they've got quite a bit coming back. I think the ACC gets 2 this year. I'm really, really high on Georgia Tech. I'm really high on the Haynes King, the double Haynes backfield. I really think that they've got a good defense, right? They're going to play. Yeah. I said it about Texas A&M. They're going to play good defense. They're going to run the heck out of the ball. They've got a quarterback that is not going to fumble the game away when things. So I really think that the ACC probably gets 2 in there. I think you have 4, I think, SEC teams in the college football playoff. I do as I only have 3. I've got Georgia and Bama both in there as well. Arizona State is my team. My Big 12 at-large pick, and Illinois, I think, makes it in as well.
Okay. Yeah, I actually have 5 SEC teams. I have 5 SEC, 3 Big 10, 2 ACC, and 1 Big 12. I just don't think the Big 12 is strong enough to get 2 teams in. They could. I think one of those leagues is going to get 2. I don't know if it's going to be the ACC or the Big 12. It would kind of shock me if they both got 2 this year, but who knows? So, guys, I have Georgia playing UNLV, Bama playing Duke, USC versus Kansas State, A&M versus Oklahoma. And then next round, I have Texas versus Texas A&M in the second round of the college football playoff. I have Clemson versus Kansas State. I have Penn State versus Bama. I have Ohio State versus Georgia. My final 4 are Texas versus Georgia, Penn State versus Clemson. I have Texas versus Clemson for the national championship, and I have Clemson winning the national championship.
Okay. Spicy. I like that. You and I have talked a lot about how I think people are undervaluing Clemson this year. I think Cade Klubnik is going to be. I think Cade Klubnik ends up in New York at the end of the year. I don't know if he wins it, but I think he's a Heisman candidate at the end of the year. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks returning in the country. They've got good. They're good in the spots they need to be. Dabo has not forgotten to coach football, much to my chagrin. He hasn't forgotten how to coach college football. You've got a good coach. You've got good in the trenches. You've got a good quarterback. That's a recipe for a championship level team. I think I wouldn't be shocked if it happened like that. I'm shocked you picked Clemson over Texas. That's my big surprise there, but I wouldn't look past Clemson winning a national championship this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard for me. I think this is the year before the year for Texas. I'm going to be all in for Texas next year to win the national championship. It's just hard it just is for this year, just because of the youth at certain positions, with the offensive line, not youth really at offensive line, but cohesion, and then quarterback first year. I think Clemson is kind of in that mold that we've seen the last couple of years, where they kind of reload, bring everyone back. That, Peter Woods could have went to the NFL. TJ Parker could have went to the NFL, and they said, no, we're going to come back. We're going to try to win a national championship. Cade Klubnik could have even went to the NFL. And we saw what those wide receivers did versus Texas, and I think that was kind of their coming out party. My only issue with them is running back, but let's be honest here. If the running back is the worst player on your offense or on your team in general, you can work around that. You really can. So I think this team is poised to win a national championship this year. Honestly, I think there's 3 teams in a tier, and then it drops off for me. It's Texas, Penn State, and Clemson in that tier, and then it kind of drops off to a second tier of teams that could realistically win a national championship, but I wouldn't place money on it. If you're placing money on Clemson, Penn State, or Texas to win a national championship, I think that's a pretty safe bet that one of the 3 is going to win a national championship.
I think that's fair. And again, you said it. You said it really well, so I won't retread. But I think that's a group of teams that I wouldn't be shocked. Again, returning quarterbacks is something that I put a high value on. Penn State and Clemson both have it.
No, 100%. So these are etched in stone now. So you guess what? Leave your comments, leave your questions, leave your concerns, whatever you may think about our predictions. Because guess what? I remember last year, I predicted LSU schedule to a T, got everything right. And the day after the video came out, someone said, "You're a moron. LSU's not losing to USC in Florida." Well, guess what? They lost to USC in Florida. And I commented directly after that Florida game and said, I'm not a moron, am I? Never heard anything back, because that's the beauty of making predictions. People will say everything now, but never come back if you're right. Now, if we're wrong, they're going to be all over us.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be on somebody's Twitter feed for sure.
Again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. as it says at the bottom of the screen on the ticker. Join us every Monday night at 8 Eastern time. Next weekend, it is a crossover. We will be on the Ohio State channel and the Texas channel, and we will be breaking down the Ohio State game with the Voice of College Football Ohio State channel with Garrison. We really appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Also, give us a follow on Twitter or X. That is mine right there. And this is Gerald's as well. Please go give him a follow on Twitter, X, Blue Sky, whatever it may be right there, as well as his Longhorn Pod. You can check that out on Amazon Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, everything. It's all up there. Please check that out. He does a really good job over there. And again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. If you did miss it, go back. But we both have Texas 11-1. We both have Texas as SEC champions. And, hey, I didn't get this from you, Gerald. Is Texas going to win the national championship? Where do you think we end up?
Man, it's hard for me to say they're going to win. I think you're right. It's the year before the year. I think I've got, if I had to put my brackets together, I think probably Penn State and Clemson for the national championship. And I think I have Clemson winning.
Okay, sweet. So we did go with an orange team today, just not the right orange team.
Austin Kidd winning a national championship.
Yeah, that is true. And my long take of I thought Cade Klubnik was better than Quinn Ewers coming out of high school may come true if he wins that national championship. So, again, guys, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. And as always, hook 'em.
Hook 'em.